Let's talk about another poisonous plant, the potato. Now, before you freak out, there's only a few circumstances in which the potatoes are actually poisonous, and just eating regular potatoes is fine. So potatoes are in the Solanaceae family, more commonly known as the nightshades. Now this includes plants such as the poisonous datura and deadly nightshade, as well as things like eggplants and tomatoes. And something that they have in common, all of these plants produce to some level this chemical known as solanine. Now solanine is a natural chemical that's produced as an insecticide as a defense against insects. However, in high enough doses, like present in the deadly nightshade and datura, it is toxic. However, in edible plants like the tomatoes and potatoes, it's not there in a high enough level, usually. Now, in certain cases in potatoes, there is a very high level of solanine, which does make that very toxic to eat. Now, this usually presents itself as very, very bright green coloring underneath the skin of the potato. This is kind of a normal potato. It's yellowish, perhaps with a slight tint of green, but this one has very high levels of solanine, and it shows as being like neon green. If you see a potato like this with very, very bright green under the skin, don't eat it. Now that being said, it is very noticeable, so if you see like a slight tint of green, it's fine, you can eat it. It's just this very bright green, you will not be able to miss it. Now, reportedly, solanine like this can be removed and destroyed by frying the potatoes, not by boiling. However, I personally would still not risk it. The reported oral LD50 of solanine, so when you eat it, is about 590 milligrams per kilogram, which comparatively is not that high, so you don't have a lot to worry about. Now, the symptoms of solanine tend to be largely gastrointestinal, including nausea, vomiting, and cramps, but they can also have other effects such as headaches and dizziness. In some cases, it can cause nightmares and hallucinations, and in severe cases, things such as paralysis, heart problems, and even death. High levels have also been linked to occasional birth defects. And the mechanism of action isn't entirely known currently, but it is thought to affect the mitochondria and mess with some nerve signalings and the calcium channels, and all of that is similar to some other poisons I've gone over before. Now, eating green potatoes is not the only case of solanine poisoning. When potatoes are stored incorrectly, largely in root cellars with very low ventilation, the solanine can be released as a gas. This occurs when the potatoes rot, again due to improper storage. The potatoes begin to decompose and all of that solanine is released as a gas, and if in a poorly ventilated area, it can accumulate and cause very much problems. There have been cases where potatoes have been stored in root cellars, which are underground and therefore have poor ventilation, and are left there for a while, so the solanine gas accumulates, and when people go down there after a while, they are exposed to the gas and it causes them to pass out and eventually potentially die due to the poison. Now, this is pretty rare. The majority of people do not own root cellars anymore, and if you have potatoes that are in just like a pantry or something with good ventilation, this isn't really something you need to worry about, and this only happens again when the potatoes are actually rotting. If you just have like older potatoes that have gone like a little bit squishy or are growing the eyes on them, there's not really anything to worry about, again, especially if it's well ventilated. This only really is an issue when in a enclosed space with poor ventilation and actually rotten potatoes, but still not a good time.